Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of Book Tuesday, and today I've got Charlotte.
Hi.
And we're going to talk about the Virgin Suicides, which we don't have with us, but I'll put a picture. Yes, the Virgin Suicides by
Jeffrey Eugenides.
that guy.
Yeah.
I brought Charlotte in because this book is very much about different perspectives.
Yeah, it's one of them books like where how you interpret it tells more about you than actually the book itself, I think.
Yeah, it was a book that Charlotte lent to me and I really enjoyed it. It was very difficult to read, I found.
Yeah.
A few chapters at a time, I had to put it down, come back to it a day, maybe 2 days later.
I think enjoyed is probably the wrong word.
Yeah, I think
probably one of those books you're not really supposed to like
it wasn't exactly enjoyed it, it was more appreciated it.
Yeah, like if you enjoyed it, there's probably something
wrong
with you.
Yes.
But
the premise of this book being that there are 5 sisters, and you know they're all going to commit suicide by the end of it. And that's all you know at first.
and you don't find out why, it's just left there, but I think that was probably part of why it's so
Yeah.
good. Because
Spoilers, again, no one should watch this if they haven't read it.
Sorry.
Leave. That's okay.
But
yeah, that was quite annoying. Through the entire book, I wanted to find out why, I wanted to understand what the girls were thinking. You get to the end and you still don't know. And it was because it was from the perspective of the neighbours.
yeah, just looking in.
The boys from the school who were trying to understand them, trying to help them in a way.
They were obsessed with them a bit because they still
Yeah.
carried on.
It was quite an odd perspective to see it from, but it also hit home quite hard. The outsider point of view, the idea that there was no action they could take. Like, it gave, because it was in the first person in that kind of
Yeah.
way, it gave a feeling of you were one of them, one of the people who couldn't help, which was eerie.
And if also because you didn't find out anything from the girl's perspective either.
Yeah, if it had been written from the girl's perspective, there would have been an understanding as why,
But then
as to how they were feeling. Through the entire book, it was more about not knowing how they were feeling and trying to work it out. And the metaphor of looking through their windows, looking through the house windows at night, was all that they could get. That idea was very strong. The idea of trying to look in and just having these few windows, these few glimpses of their lives.
Yeah.
That still didn't tell the entire story.
And they would never know. They'll never, because they couldn't actually talk to the girls, even if they tried.
They got snippets of conversation passed from person to person. They got stories, particularly about Lux. It's been a while since I read it.
Yeah.
Particularly about Lux and her adventures on the roof.
Well, she was the one they were more obsessed with, I thought. She was.
Yeah.
They had
Perhaps she seemed more approachable.
the idea of the girls.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't actually talk to them. They just made an idea of what they were like. So they were like Ophelia, I guess, from Hamlet. Because she goes mad and no one knows why. No one talks to her to find out why. It's just because of society and all the pressure that she's under.
Well, the idea of the society was quite strong as well. The
Yeah.
community. There were people all down the street and they all
Had an
their,
opinion.
yeah, and they all had their eyes on these girls in the house.
And who was doing what right
And the
who
trees.
was,
And there were trees, and throughout the book, all the trees in the street were one by one cut down.
like a metaphor for the girls,
Exactly.
really. But
I found one very touching scene was when the girls tried to save the tree.
their sister's tree.
Yeah. Their sister who had died like at the very beginning, had committed suicide. First page.
Chapter, really. She
Yeah.
cries on the first
She tries.
page.
Yeah, exactly.
A very cheerful book.
Yeah. It was them trying to save her tree. It
The
was a very
memories,
touching moment.
just
Yeah.
which is what the boys were trying to do, save, because they couldn't know the girls in life. They were trying to save their memories and
There were
get
a
to
lot
know
of,
them.
There were a lot of references to like artifacts and photos and things that weren't in the book, but it was as if this book was part of a collection, part of a shrine almost to the girls.
Yeah.
Which it was a very odd way to see it.
It's
That it was the boys trying to understand what they didn't understand, what they couldn't understand.
It's like the idea of a person is more powerful than the person themselves, kind of, because they were obsessed with the idea that they had of the girls and trying to figure out why, without ever actually really having talked to the girls. And if they had have actually talked to the girls and tried to help them,
that would have changed their opinions quite drastically.
They probably wouldn't have wanted to after that. It was just because they knew they couldn't, and they knew that they didn't afterwards. Looking back,
there is an idea of wanting what you cannot have, wanting to know what you can't know, which everyone feels at some point, a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very eye-opening because all of the characters were very human.
Yeah.
They were very the boys had their own flaws. The fact that they
were ugly. Did you see that? Remember that page? They say we were ugly and we had to learn how to talk to girls, and then we couldn't apply it to the.
I don't think that was huge.
No,
I don't know. I think that perhaps that was eye-opening in the fact that they saw themselves as lower than the girls.
Yeah.
The girls were more important and more inhuman. There was a lot of worshipping them, which isn't right. You shouldn't see people as any more than people or as any less than people. People are still people. There was a lot of looking down upon people and looking up at people. It was very much like real life in a very eerie, eye-opening, this is wrong kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favourite books now. I think that's it for this week. Next week we'll probably talk about The Hunger Games or Chaos Walking.
Oh, Chaos
Walking. We'll sort something out. See you then.